Hello again, fellow bros. In today's tutorial for the Cambridge IGCSE Psychology 0266 syllabus, we are exploring Atkinson and Shiffrin's multi-store model of memory, often simply called the MSM. Let's jump right in. The multi-store model provides a clear overview of how our memory functions. It proposes that memory is made up of three separate stores: the sensory register, short-term memory, or STM, and long-term memory, or LTM. According to the MSM, information flows in a fixed sequence through these stages. Each store differs from the others in its encoding type, its capacity, and its duration. Let's break each of these stores down. The first store is the sensory register. This is the first stage of memory where sensory information from the environment enters. Information from all five of our senses, sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste, is briefly stored in modality-specific forms, such as visual or auditory forms. The capacity of the sensory register is very large. It holds a massive amount of raw sensory input. However, its duration is extremely short, lasting less than 1 second. Because of this, most sensory information is lost quickly unless attention is paid to it. Paying attention is the crucial step that transfers information from the sensory register into our short-term memory. That brings us to short-term memory, or STM, which holds the information that we are consciously aware of at any given moment. In STM, encoding is mainly acoustic, meaning it is sound-based. The capacity of STM is limited to about 5 to 9 items, which is often cited as the magic number 7 plus or minus 2. This means most people can hold around 7 items, like digits or words, at once. If new items enter STM beyond its capacity, older items are pushed out, or displaced. The duration of STM is around 30 seconds without rehearsal. If the information isn't rehearsed, it rapidly fades. However, items in STM can be maintained by rehearsal, which involves repeating the information mentally. Rehearsal not only maintains the information but also allows it to be passed into long-term memory. Next is long-term memory, or LTM. LTM stores information for long periods, potentially a lifetime. Encoding here is primarily semantic, meaning by meaning, though visual and acoustic encoding can also occur. The capacity and duration of LTM are vast and potentially unlimited. To retrieve information from LTM, it must be brought back into the STM. Interestingly, forgetting in LTM often happens due to retrieval failure rather than the memory actually decaying. Let's quickly review the key processes in the model. First is attention, which is needed to transfer information from the sensory register to STM. Second is rehearsal, where repeating information strengthens memory and aids its transfer into LTM. Finally, retrieval is how LTM information is accessed by moving it back into STM for us to use. So, how does forgetting happen according to the MSM? In the sensory register, information simply decays quickly, in less than a second, if it is unattended. In STM, forgetting largely occurs through decay, which is time-based loss, or through displacement, where new information pushes out the old. In LTM, forgetting typically occurs due to retrieval problems. The information is still there, but it just can't be accessed. The MSM is supported by research evidence, specifically the serial position effect demonstrated by Murdoch in 1962. This effect demonstrates the existence of separate memory stores and supports the MSM. The aim of Murdoch's study was to test how memory recall varies depending on an item's position in a list. For the participants, the study used 103 male and female psychology students. The procedure involved participants studying lists of 10 to 40 common words. Each word was shown for the same amount of time. Afterward, participants had 90 seconds to recall as many words as possible. The results were fascinating. Words at the beginning of the list were recalled best, which is known as the primacy effect. Words at the end of the list were also recalled well, known as the recency effect. However, words in the middle were the least likely to be remembered. Murdoch reached a few key conclusions. The primacy effect occurs because early words receive more rehearsal and are transferred to LTM. The recency effect occurs because final words are still in STM at the time of recall. Ultimately, these findings support the idea that STM and LTM are separate memory stores. Let's evaluate the model, starting with its strengths. First, it provides a clear separation of memory stages, and behavioral data like the serial position effects align with separate STM and LTM processes. Second, it fits with evidence that rehearsal improves long-term recall. Third, it explains why recent items, which are still in STM, are recalled so well. On the flip side, there are criticisms and limitations. First, the model is considered oversimplified, as real memory processes are more interactive than strictly linear. Second, it contrasts with the levels of processing theory by Craik and Lockhart, which suggests that the depth of processing matters more than the time spent rehearsing. According to that theory, deeper semantic encoding produces a stronger LTM than shallow rehearsal. Finally, the MSM doesn't explain implicit memory, procedural memory, or why some information enters LTM without conscious rehearsal. To finish up, let's look at the application of the MSM in everyday life. Think of a shopping list. You'll find that the first and last items are easier to remember due to serial position effects, while the middle items are often forgotten and less rehearsed. Or consider remembering a phone number. If you recently heard it, it may still be in your STM and remembered. However, if it is too long or not rehearsed, it may be lost from your STM before entering LTM. And that completes our overview of Atkinson and Schifrin's multi-store model. Keep rehearsing this information so it transfers to your long-term memory for the exam. Drop a comment if you're struggling with a specific concept, and I'll jump in to help you out. Smash that like button if this helped, and subscribe to join the squad. See you in the next tutorial.